Hello everyone, welcome to the September 2nd session. So today's session will cover summary from the previous session, as well as will cover remaining topics in security principle, which is first domain. So before go to the next session, so would you take the chat and confirm if you have registered in ISC2 website and started online training? Just put your message on the chat, just started. You just type started in the chat so that I can aware that you already started ISC2 CC online program. So this assessment just for my understanding, in case you are facing any challenges in terms of enrolling the program or finding the right course in the portal, maybe I can happy to help. So for that, I just want to know if you have started. You just put the message started so that I can understand. If you not started, you have any doubt or anything, feel free to unmute and ask. I'm happy to help here. All right, looks like I got great response from multiple people. You all already started. Congratulations. If you haven't started, that's the first step. The reason behind that, when you have a target, when you are running towards a target, your brain work accordingly. Let's say you have an exam, you have to prepare and there is a target date set already, then you can accordingly allocate your timing. Otherwise, tomorrow, next day, next week, that cannot be accomplished. So as soon as you complete the e-learning modules from the ISC2 portal, then start, register or schedule your exam with 45 days buffer period, then practice more practice question, then attend the exam and crack the exams. Because if you go this approach, you will definitely get the pass result. All right, so without further delay, let's come to the today's agenda. So today we'll talk about weightage. Sorry if you have any questions. All right, let me mute everyone. All right, it's already muted. Okay, so the today agenda will talk about weightage outline again. Then Pearson VU Center we already have seen last session. Security principles we have covered half of the concept still pending, so we'll cover that today. Threat mitigation controls, privacy, regulation and laws. Then we'll cover multiple choice questions. Some of the questions I just added in today's session, so that can help you to just apply whatever learning you have done so far, that you can check it from the, whatever you have learned, we need to apply that skill or knowledge while giving you the question. So that way multiple choice questions would be the right fit for validating your knowledge ability. Now come to the weightage part. As I said earlier, security principle is the one of the biggest domain out among all other among all 5 domains. The first domain, security principle, has more weightage. So that weightage given into consideration, we are spending 2 sessions on the first domain. The remaining domains are less in terms of weightage, so we'll give less time. Per session I can cover rest of the domains. So Pearson we have seen, last session we have seen about security principles, confidentiality, integrity, availability and non-repudiation we have seen. Then we have seen respective threats for each pillar, like confidentiality. We have snooping attack, dumpster diving, eavesdropping, wiretapping and social engineering. Then how we can mitigate, we have seen those controls as well. Then let's take a chat and you just confirm you are able to answer this question. So simple question. What are the three major objectives of cybersecurity programs? So option A, confidentiality, integrity and availability. Option B, confidentiality, integrity, authorization. Option C, confidentiality, infrastructure and authorization. Option D, communication infrastructure and authorization. Just take the chat and hit a target. So you guys already know things well, so it's not that tricky question. Yeah, so that is easy one. We can easily move on. Next one. Next, we have seen about integrity. So integrity, there are unauthorized modification, impersonation attacks, man in the middle attacks, replay attacks we have seen. Then respective mitigation controls. Mostly encryption covers man in the middle and replay attacks, and the rest of the controls, principle of least privilege will help to protect from unauthorized modification. Best defense against this attack, strong user education is for impersonation attacks. Then availability, we have seen DDoS protection, power outages, hardware failure, destruction of equipment, service outages. So those mitigation also we have seen. Then come to the question, which one of the following security risks would most likely to be considered an availability issue? As we have seen, confidentiality, integrity, availability, in given option, while reading the question, you need to develop the skill that you can eliminate the wrong answers first. Maybe read the question and which one is pose risk for availability. Replay attack, power outage, social engineering, snooping. So if you take replay attack, that is not related to availability, so option A is not the right answer. Power outage, yes, it impacts outage. Basically availability may interrupt. Social engineering not related to availability. Snooping is confidentiality threat. So the answer would be, right answer would be the option B, right? So next, move on. So threats against non-repudiation. If someone is denying the fact, then the digital evidence comes from signature, digital signature, CCTV, biometric. So can't denying the fact because of these evidences. So non-repudiation plays one of the key concepts. So we should know what is non-repudiation. Then access control we have seen with, I remember Shivani example in that Canva slide. The application Shivani can access authentication, authorization, and accounting principles. Then access control process, combining all three: authentication, authorization, and accounting. So when it comes to accounting helps to triage the incidents related to access control. For example, this example, user logged in from which IP, what time, who is the user, what was the authorization statement, whether it is granted or denied. So those all logged in the accounting part. So now today's session, let's start from password policies. So now I am starting. So far I just summarized what we have seen so far in the first domain. Password policies. So password policies may fall under administrative control. As a company, we need to develop a policy for passwords, right? So the password length to be defined. So when you define a password length, the password shouldn't be easily guessable, right? If password is guessable or brute force, like randomly if I try, let's say you keep a 3-digit password. If it is 3-digit, the password must be between 100 to 999, right? That's what the range is. So if I try one by one, I can easily guess the password and unlock the specific system or application. But if you put 16-digit password, I cannot guess. So that would be the password length, minimum 8 character, and the regulatory requirement may go up to 16 characters. Password complexity, we need to develop a policy. Password cannot be guessable, so adding special characters, lowercase, uppercase, numeric value, the combination we need to add. Then password expiration. So if I set a password, I cannot keep the password for the number of years I'm working on the same company, right? Let's say I joined a company in 2010, still I'm in the same company. 15 years, if I keep a same password, if there is a compromise or someone stole my password, they can still access that system, right? So there is a finite expiration period. It could be 90 days, 180 days, depends on the company policy, but expiration period mostly 180 days in widely for many organizations. Then password history, you cannot repeat the same password again and again. So the reason behind that, if there was a breach, your password might have compromised, but when you keep the same password across social media, Gmail and corporate devices, if one password get compromised, the attacker can easily steal all your other accounts because the password you are keeping same. That plays password history accountable, like you shouldn't reuse the same password again and again in the same system or for that particular application. That's where the system or the application store your last 6 passwords or 3 passwords, so that when you try to put the same password again, it may tell you the password already being used in last 3 iteration. So that way you are forced to use new password. That will enhance the security. Password resets, as every organization, people forget the password. There would be a password reset flow must be integrated. That flow must be tested and validated so that change password policy will not open any door for unauthorized access. So password reuse, should also strongly encourage users not to reuse the same password, the same logic. If there was a compromise, if same password being reused, it's so easy for attacker to guess the same password and try that compromised password in multiple systems, and they can compromise. In a nutshell, for this exam perspective, you should know each topic high level, why we are doing. So password length, why we are doing. The simplest and most common control on password is setting the password length. That is a basic control. If password length is not defined, people set one letter, 2 letter, then that is easily guessable and easily compromisable, right? So that's how you need to understand all these concepts for exam perspective. Next, authentication factors. As user ID and password is a base something standpoint, user ID and password plays, traditionally long ways we are using same user ID and password method, but due to brute force or keep guessing the password, or someone stolen your identity or a laptop with the password sheet, or password vault got compromised. Now the second factor authentication would help to mitigate those cyber threats. For example, there was an attacker compromised the system and took all your password vault. Now that guy trying to use the password or the account stolen, right? The stolen passwords they are trying to use. Now, if you have an MFA, multi-factor authentication, without multi-factor authentication, even though they got the password user ID, they cannot succeed, because MFA is your OTP or your biometric or any other way, like the smart card based MFA is also available, like USB based MFA is available, like called FIDO2. Those type of MFAs will keep strengthening your authentication process. So something you have, which is second factor authentication. The another factor is something your iris eye scan or your facial recognition can be used, or even voice note can be used as another factor. So MFA combining something with something you have. So when you combine something which is user ID and password, and something you have, this approach is known as multi-factor authentication. So MFA primarily something and something you have combined, but something you are is nowadays directly used. If you take any smartphone, mostly the facial recognition famous in iPhones, in Android they use pattern or number locks, right? So those all something which is fall under PIN or password, but the more secure one is something you are, which is facial recognition. So when you use iPhone, your face recognition can be used as factor, one of the factor in the authentication to authenticate any applications or services. That's why that provides more security. Next, take this quiz. You are considering deploying a multi-factor authentication system to protect. You are considering deploying a multi-factor authentication system to protect access to your organization's virtual private network VPN. Which one of the following combination of access control would you meet this requirement? So we are trying to establish a VPN. Which one would be the perfect fit? Password and PIN, fingerprint and eye scan, smart card and fingerprint, key fob and smart card. So here the key word in the question is multi-factor. When it says multi-factor, something you know and something you have. So something you know, something you have could be these two combination, right? If you take out the question, first question, password and PIN would be the right answer. Fingerprint and eye scan, both are something you are, right? So not fit into multi-factor. Smart card and fingerprint, smart card something you have and fingerprint something you are. So it's not something you know. So key fob and smart card, again, both are something you have. So the right answer would be password and the PIN. So next, Andy is attempting to change his password and has created the following long password. He receives an error message that he must use a symbol in his password. Which password policy he is failing to meet? So the password also given. All right, I could see the response, great response from the people. Yeah, the chat is heavy. All right, I could see answer password complexity, which is C, right? So yeah, so the complexity here is error message clearly states that must use a symbol. So symbol is part of not part of length, not part of history, not part of reuse, complexity. So C is the right answer. So that's how, but only the trick for this exam is 2 hours the exam, right? So 2 hours, 100 questions. So you may have 1 minute time frame. Within that 1 minute, you need to read and understand the question and figure out that answers. Probably 1.4 minutes you can utilize for each question. Privacy. Next concept is privacy, as privacy plays key roles. So have you ever noticed why whenever you visit mostly Europe-based website, that website show up a banner and asking you to accept cookies or deny cookies? Have you ever noticed why that is happening? Maybe take the chat and respond. Why companies start putting that banner and asking you to accept the cookies? All right, yeah. So I come to the privacy part. So as an individual, are you concerned about your privacy in your company? Like when you work on a company or using company device, are you concerned about your privacy, or the privacy not applicable for company given device because the device owned by the enterprise or a company? you can't expect your privacy when you use any email or chat that can be monitored by your information security team or cyber security team, or respective tools can sneak into your private conversation. So we can't expect privacy there. But as an individual, when you use personal mobile apps, let's say you are using WhatsApp is using end-to-end encryption to make sure we are not giving your data to even government or anyone asking for that. That's what the privacy statement is. Even the popular app now from Made in India, Aratai, that app also have seen a lot of challenges with end-to-end encryption. If government asks the chat conversation data, if end-to-end encryption is not there, there would be a possibility your privacy may not be protected. So as an individual, we are concerning about privacy. But when it comes to enterprise, the responsibility to educate the privacy for the employees also fall under information security team or that respective team. Educate the user in your organization about how they can protect their own personal information, right? That's where the privacy plays. So as a cybersecurity professional, we may need to assist respective privacy officials within our organization with the work they need to do, protect personal information entrusted to your organization. So as an individual, we have full rights to protect our privacy, but when it comes to enterprise, we have certain limitations as the device or the process or application owned by the company. So, but even though that is for internal process, but when it comes to third party personal information, let's say you are working on a banking company, the bank has published a net banking system that collects personal identifiable information, name, location, or the address for the recipient we are sending the money. So those personal informations are collected. That's the primary reason. If you see that the initial notice or acceptable use policy, that will clearly indicates what are the information they will collect, how they would process and store. That same goes to the website question which I have asked. If you access any website which put that privacy notice, there are business, they must keep a privacy page. If you go to company.com/privacy, they put one entire page, dedicate that page for their privacy policy. So for example, my registration page for this course, I am collecting your name, email ID, WhatsApp number, and LinkedIn profile. You might have seen. If I start my business as an enterprise company, I shouldn't do without giving you a consent. I need to showcase the consent page. I'm collecting your name, email ID, I'm storing for this purpose. Once the course is completed, I will discard the information. That needs to be consented. So once you accept that privacy policy, then only you can allow to use the service. So that privacy page every company should maintain. So that's where privacy plays key role in information security. So next types of private information. So while accepting this privacy, the information classified into two primary categories. From the response from Lokesh Verma, he mentioned to inform related to PHI and PII information. Exactly, spot on. Because personally identifiable information, when the website is collecting your address, name, location, or payment card information, then that fall under personally identifiable information. So then protected health information, if the application is healthcare related application or you are ordering medicine, then that is collecting your personal healthcare, health information, right? So that's where the privacy linked to regulatory and laws. If there is a law states that if your medical related application or you are running a shopping application which is delivering medical supplements, then you are collecting users personal health information. So if I have X illness, then I am ordering that medicine, right? So they need to protect my identity and my information. I have that problem, that's why I am ordering that medicine. So protected health information also linked to privacy concern. So next, we can say we have Europe law, you have India-based law and different laws for America. But when it comes to privacy, maybe the global standard is American Institute of Certified Public Accountants. They made a PMF framework, which is called Privacy Management Framework Summary. So this was their top topic, like management develop that privacy policy. So if you are a company, let's say you are starting a startup. That startup is going to do some healthcare related business. Now you are the management, you are the CEO of the company. So the management, the board of directors need to develop their privacy and privacy policy, that is management. Then agreement, notice, communication. If you are supplier, if you are partner, if you are customer, what data they are using for the transaction, then the agreement or notice to be given to that respective parties. Collection and creation. When collection and creation comes into, let's say, farm table, right? When a customer order your product, customer may need to give name, address, or whatever details. If it is a e-commerce related business in healthcare, then you are collecting the information and creating the data. Next, use, retention, and disposable. When you gather the information, how you are going to store it, process it once the order is completed, how you are going to discard the data once the transaction is complete, or you have any law regulation to keep that data for 6 months or 3 months down the line. Next, who all are have access to that data? Your employees, your third-party contractors, your supply chain, companies may have access to those data. These all present in the privacy policy. Then disclosure to third parties. This is where that website, the cookie acceptance come into picture. Whenever third-party user accessing your website, you need to showcase that notice, explaining them what are the data you are collecting, the cookies. Then security for privacy. How you are protecting the privacy or the collected information in a secure manner. Are you encrypting in REST, or where you are storing? Is the storage comply with the respective storage security policy? If someone compromised, they can, retrieve those data. If there is a ransomware attack, you can restore the backup, or how you are protecting the collected sensitive details. So data integrity and quality, how you are, keeping the data without compromising integrity. Integrity means, unauthorized modification. Then monitoring and enforcement. As you have collected the data, but you cannot say that I have gathered the information, but I just store it. That's not the way it works, right? You need to monitor who all are accessing. Are we correctly enforcing all the privacy policies in order? Or if there is a gap, for example, third party, I have onboarded new third party company for my partner business. Maybe I'm taking outsourcing from them. I start giving the data to them that is not maintained or monitored with the privacy policy, then that would be a problem, right? So that's where this framework must be followed to maintain the privacy correctly. So in exam standpoint, you should know what is PMF. You may need to know each individual concept, but PMF is the framework for privacy. So next, let's take the quiz and put it on the chat. Which of these people would have the least expectation of privacy? So a patient discussing a medical records with a nurse. So patient and nurse discussing medical records, both are in hospital. An employee sending an email to a friend over the office network, right? Employee sending email to a friend over office network. Employee, there is a friend, he's using office laptop to send an email. A student discussing grades with a teacher. Teacher and student both are in school or college. Two people having private conversation. Take WhatsApp as an example. Two people chatting. That they have full rights on the privacy. So let's take the chat and see who all are. All right. So good to see, you all pointed right answers. An employee sending an email to a friend over the office network. Because the reason I pressed that concept, you cannot expect privacy in your enterprise given laptop or mobile phone, because that is being monitored by your company information security team. because they collect all the data. They may retain all your chat history or application you have access to for X number of periods. But there are limitations, but still you can't expect least expectation of privacy in this particular case. So answer is B. All right, next we'll come to laws and regulations. So the European Union says that general data protection regulation applies to the personal information of all EU residents. So irrespective of where the business is, if there is a business related to EU citizens, Europe citizens, then that respective business must obey and follow GDPR, the General Data Protection Regulation. So that must be followed. If in case that is not followed, what it will invite hefty fines from the GDPR regulatory. So they put hefty fine, you may shut down the business, you may not sustain in the market. So that's the primary challenge with the laws and regulations in Western countries. But countries like India, we don't have that much level of strict restriction, but there are cases we have seen penalties, but still regulation standpoint, US and Europe put heavy fines, so the companies must follow those standards. So in US, comply with the Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act. Mostly the healthcare or medical related business fall under this HIPAA Regulatory Act. Then they have Graham-Leach-Bliley Act. The PCI DSS is focused on payment card industry or banking sector, wherever payment card or credit card, debit card information processed, they should adhere with payment card industry standard. So that regulatory covers that payment card industry. So in India, this is not in this exam, but I just added for everyone's reference. So India, we have added DPDP Act in 2023 that covers, that regulates most of the companies who are processing payment card industry or personal identifiable information. This specific act enforce, as well as it also invite fines if companies not following that act. The reason I put that, there would be much more opportunities in this segment if you are a fresher, you like to start regulation side or law side, if you would like to study further, maybe keep an eye on DPDP Act 2023, because companies start adopting DPDP, you may see some opportunities. When you know some on DPDP, you know how to implement DPDP on startups or companies, you may invite more customers or client or job opportunities. So if you put your resume, let's say you have certified in DPDP or you are a certified practitioner for DPDP, you may get job quickly in India, because that's something booming in India last couple of years. I put the link, you can read more about what is DPDP, but it's a heavy document that normal people may not understand. The legal statements and words are not a spoken language, but still you can high level understand what are the areas DPDP Act would cover. Yeah, let's take this question. Your organization is planning to accept credit cards for the first time and you are concerned about the regulations that may affect this processing. You already handle a large amount of personally identifiable information. Which new regulation is most likely to affect your organization? First time your company added payment card gateway in your web application. So now which compliance you need to adhere with? All right, this is also easy question. So easy questions, PCI DSS, yeah, that's the right answer. This is how the exam also, so you won't feel very hard as long as you understand the regulations, the keyword which I am stressing on the presentation, that you can easily find the answers. Next, come to elements of cyber attacks. All right, so I just cover this cyber attacks, then we'll have short 5 minutes break. Then I take, before break I take few questions from the chat. If you have any questions so far, just put it on the chat. So the elements of cyber attacks, there are various frameworks available for cyber attacks, how cyber attacks can happen with multiple step 1, step 2, step 3, which step we can protect or mitigate. But for this exam standpoint, we only need to focus on 4 steps. Typical cyber attacks, the elements are conduct research, identify targets, exploit targets, do bad things. Only these 4 we focus on exam standpoint. So now come to the chat and take a few questions as we have people have doubts. So I'm happy to solve those doubts. So many questions, some explanations. All right. So if you haven't started ISC2 CC program, do it immediately, because that will keep you on track. Whatever I'm teaching you, that align with the course you are doing on the ISC2 portal. I may give some additional information, but ISC2 portal may give you the structured program. Once you complete, you can focus on the multiple choice questions. So there was an ask difference between 2-factor and multi-factor, how 2-factor is not secure. So multi-factor, the clear statement from the textbook standpoint, something you know and something you have. These two, when it is combined, it is called multi-factor. When you add anything else, something you are with something you know, then that could become a 2-factor. Let's say after a password, you are asking a question, right? Let's say there is a question was saved in past. After entering right password, which the next page is asking what is your favorite food. Now you are giving answer, right? Even that considered as a second factor. So second factor can be anything, but multi-factor, as per textbook, something you know and something you have. Next question, Aita, can you give any real world example related to supply chain, that how privacy management framework works? Supply chain, yeah, supply chain. Yeah, supply chain in the privacy work, as I said, the same example with you are starting a startup with the medical business. Now you are getting help or support from another company, maybe that is supporting or giving you a source for maybe some stocks, but you need to provide some information about the client or customer. That transaction impacts the privacy. Even some digital other companies, for example, you are procuring large amount of let's say processors and chips in India. Maybe regulatory requirement requires for whom you are procuring, which requirement you are procuring large amount of computation power or chips, that information to be passed to your vendor, respective vendor. That is where supply chain privacy come into picture, because in this world, never ever one company independently function 100%. There would be requirement, there would be supply chain, there would be third party contractor or another company should support some ways. If that connectivity requires your customer details or personally identifiable information in place, where we need to include privacy in that supply chain. Hope that make meaningful answer. But yeah, you can find much more real-time scenarios by reading case studies. So in India, does Digital Personal Data Protection Act does not have strict rules? India, yes, we have strict rules, but there were some grace periods given. There were companies not even start implemented that rule. We have in as per law, as per that act, we have penalties, but the penalties strictly followed when there was a challan or fine given, right? Until the enforcement node is not functioning properly or identifying the gap, this law cannot be enforced. You just imagine simple analogy. Everyone must wear helmet, but people not wearing and going right. As soon as you see the traffic police, they wear or they turn back. That's exactly the same thing happening in act, following the act as well. When there is an inspection happening, when there is a audit come to the line, then they will follow everything, because we have act but the enforcement is not that strict or great. But when it comes to Europe, they link that act in some of the checkpoint. For example, you cannot get company approval or you cannot register a company if you are not following respective laws. You need to showcase that audit report. Otherwise, your company will not be granted. Or every annual audit, they would revise what are you comply with, or are you breaching. But country like India is a large population and we are newly introducing the law. We may not able to go and check all existing business to whether they are enforcing or not. But whenever there is a new business is formed, but we may able to put that in place, that can be attached to the company registration step, or annual audit report can be included. But that time we may not soon, but we may need to go longer. But we have an act, but I can say enforcement is not greatly done. Could you please take my questions? Question: due to varying password policies across different application and system, managing multiple passwords can be challenging. While many people recommend using password manager to address the issue, it's raised concern about security. Specifically, a password manager is compromised. Yeah, it could be potentially expose all credentials stored with it. Has ISC2 provide any guidelines or policies regarding secure use of password managers? So password managers, yes, comes with the risk. Your convenient comes with the risk. That's true. But how to mitigate the risk? As I said earlier, you have password stored in the password vault, but you have second factor or multi-factor. Something you have, something you are, cannot be stored in your multi-factor, I mean password vault. That is where the multi-factor would put that resistance, phishing resistance, even though credential is harvested by compromising the password vault, but cannot compromise your multi-factor authentication. That's why companies are investing so much on multi-factor. Also now you might have seen passwordless come to picture. What is passwordless? They may just add 502 or USB based authentication. You need to plug the USB and touch the stick to authenticate. So you no need password, you no need even user ID. So if you go to the application, it just recognize your device and directly go to that passwordless. So now, considering not from ISC2, but considering in real time, companies are shifting from password to passwordless. Passwordless once mature, maybe we may see password vaults maybe get rid of, or it won't has much growth in future, because password vaults primarily storing user ID and password. When user ID and password is no longer needed, or user ID is common for all the apps, single sign-on plus passwordless is the best approach to mitigate those threats. All right, guys, we'll take 5 minutes breaks now. We'll resume exactly at probably 7:55. We'll resume. Yeah. All right, everyone, I'm back. If you are back, just put a message on the chat. I am back. So 31 participants, I at least expect 20 response. All right. All right, let's continue. So, elements of typical cyber attack. If you want to become a hacker, you must know these all four steps. If you want to become a cyber defender or a practitioner would like to protect the company assets and organization or nation, you must know each four elements, how it starts, how it works, and how we can mitigate. So first one, conduct research. If you have seen in movies, the hackings are so hyped and animated that will not be possible in real time. In real time, hacking takes time and effort. Cannot hack easily any particular system, or identifying vulnerability is not that easy. Many companies take Meta, Facebook, or Google, or any popular internet service provider or SaaS applications. They run hefty bug bounty programs. If you find a bug or a flaw in their implementation and report, they can give you reward like HackerOne, BugCrowd. These are the platform they nominate, and they give the instruction how you can test their application, what are the area, the scope of the coverage. Then if you are able to identify, that become a big win for your career. If you put a couple of meta bugs in your resume, you can easily get a job in web security research area or pen testing area or vulnerability researcher. So if you are a student, you are exploring career in cybersecurity, not always college, then job interviews, company. There are shortcuts that comes through bug bounty programs. So you can participate in HackerOne or BugCrowd. Then you can improve your skill how to identify bugs in web pages, or understanding how the web technology works, or how API works, how the mobile application works. If you find and report any potential vulnerability or bug, you are really rewarded very good. That opens door for your career as well. So that starts from research. When you are finding a target, yeah, so finding a target, then you can conduct research on the target, identify respective domain, email and financial information, name of the employee and manager details, email address, phone numbers, facility location and layouts, ingress and egress details. So these requires research. For example, I want to know, there was an employee, I want to know his manager name. How you can find his manager name? Okay, I will give you some insights why this is so important and how people identify your manager details from outsider. Let's say your manager appreciated you in a LinkedIn post. There is a right way. You found from social network. LinkedIn, your manager publicly appreciated you as you are part of his team. Okay, that's one way you can easily identify. The other way, you have been to party, you took some photograph and posted on Facebook. Now what you did, you went to company party, you posted with your manager and posted. That photo indicates you both are in the same party, both are in the same company. Maybe he's his manager and he's you are working under him. Now the problem is, once you get this information, what will happen next? As a hacker mindset, hackers use this as a social engineering. So hackers may call you and impersonate as your manager, maybe his voice or his cloned video or his information they use to trick you to gather some information. You may believe your manager was asking, your manager was asked to do some task, but actually that is not your manager. Maybe a hacker closely monitored. So that's where user education is important. If someone is reaching you behalf of your manager, super boss or VP director, where this can happen. So as a hacker side, they do clear research. Maybe it takes years to complete, or short research. They come up with the target identification. Once the target is set, they trick with the various techniques to exploit. So conduct research. This is for social engineering. If you take any web pages or Android application, let's say we all using social media, Facebook application in our Android phones or iPhones, right? Those applications can be installed in Android emulators. Then they scan the application, then identify if there is a potential bug or vulnerability in that application, try to attack and report that in the bug bounty program. This is for good purpose, but for bad purpose, what will happen? Hackers go and scan the Facebook application, find the loophole, attack some celebrities and hacked their account and ransom. They ask ransom, otherwise they would, publish their all personal information or photos. That is for money-minded intensive. But if it is comes to nation target, let's say there is a social media handle for national level leader. If their account is targeted by Russia or any other hacking group, now what will happen? Our nation's leaders' personal information got hacked through that particular application, right? So the motive could be not always money. There would be reputation damage. There would be, revenge. The competition breakout. For example, one company is keep growing. They like to, damage the name and bring down their business. So motive could be different. Motive cannot be easily identified why that company got hacked, but the research is a place where hackers spend more time on, because identifying a target, clear target, requires a lot of work. So they sit and identify and scan all the domains, whatever domains the company purchased. If there is any domain unsecured or without TLS or exposed to public, those things they can identify through some of the scanning tools, the freely available or paid tools that will give them the information. So in a nutshell, conducting research is the first step for attacking anything. Next, identifying the target. Let's say now I have done the research. Now I identified a target. Now I need to attack, right? So, sorry, now I found research completed. I got some resources. Now finding the clear target. The target always comes with the vulnerabilities. If there was a patch not applied that has that known vulnerability, or the Android application was running old legacy coding platform, that can seen in the application itself. Or if there is a web page, there was a SQL database exposed in that website while submitting a form. These are the simple hint what I can give for identifying the target. So once target is identified, the target with vulnerability is the best target, because you have already exploitable vulnerability in place. So once you identified the target with vulnerability, then exploit the target. Exploitation happens, for example, the manager employee scenario. They found your manager name, manager details. Now the hacker find the target is you. Now target is clear. Now what is your weak point? For example, every day morning you go to drop your kid to school, or every day morning you go to gym. That particular time period you always hurry or running behind the time. You won't ask much question, or you won't even think twice. That is the vulnerability. Like urgency, they created that urgency. For example, you are on a hurry to drop your kid. There was a call came from your manager. Hey, I need this report or a link quickly. Can you send it to my personal WhatsApp? You may think, you are in a hurry, you need to complete the task. In that hurry, you can share the link to personal WhatsApp. That is against the company policy you violated, but the other end is not your manager, it was impersonated person. So now they exploited you to get the data, right? They steal the data through that specific approach. It's under social engineering. Let's say phishing. Maybe they send an email from your manager name framed email address, your manager name @gmail.com. You think that, hey, that could be my manager. He was asking the details without validating the domain. You just clicked the link or responded. Now that go to the attacker side, right? That's way phishing. Malware, there is a link, they encoded malware, they implanted malware on your laptop. That malware steals all your data from your laptop and mobile phone. That's very worst situation. But once identifying the target, then the malware exploitations happens. So that's how the targeted attack works. So they do research on years and months. They find the weakness, then they would attack respective target with the vulnerability. Next, do bad things. Here is where the intention come into picture. Once target is identified, exploited, now what will happen? Let's say the same example, you have been exploited, you thought that was your manager, you have shared the company data through WhatsApp. Now they just stole the company data through you, right? Stealing the data. They have compromised confidentiality. You have sent some confidential information to hackers. That's what impacting the confidentiality. Because they are doing bad things, they are compromised the confidentiality. Maybe the secret information could be your company revenue data, or it could be your next 3 months future plan data, right? Any data. Next, modifying the data which impacts the integrity. Let's say there was a guy called you and asked you to modify some of the field in the database. You found that call came from your manager. You thought then you modified the SQL database, but actually the call came from the hacker. They used you to modify the data. Then you modified the data because you thought it was manager, but it was actually not the manager. That's one case. But in common ways, how it works, even phishing emails, they ask you to click a link. That link download some malware. That malware do the backend work and modify some data. That compromise the integrity. Destroying the data, where that malware completely lock your system or encrypt the data, so the data now won't be available for anyone, or it spread the malware to multiple systems and lock out all the databases or stored data, then it would availability problem, because that's where we have seen multiple ransomware attacks in various airports in past. Maybe 3 weeks ago, UK, there was an airport infected with the ransomware. Those incidents, they clearly attack the target, exploit the system, they lock the system, so that when passenger come to airport and they try to get the boarding pass, the systems are not accessible. Then it impacted the flight departure. When flight departure interrupted, it interrupted the entire runway. That entire airport get closed. So it's a chain effect. If one get compromised, locked, the other event chained up. To solve that, it may take multiple weeks to complete that process and restore that airport or system. That's why that's so important. The bad things, not always money, stealing data, modifying data, destroying data, revenge, multiple intention could be behind an attack. So in a nutshell, you just know these all 4 elements of cyber attack: conducting research, identifying target, exploit targets, do bad thing. But you can, if you are a good security practitioner, you can avoid conducting research itself. You can mask all your exposable endpoints. Let's say you are running a website. If someone is scanning, website is on 443 TLS, all other ports are shut down, no information exposed, only the domain exposed, but that domain is protected with DDoS protection. You have continuous monitoring, web application firewall in place. So you don't need to worry about anything, because you have necessary controls, defense in depth in place. So conducting research itself, we can mitigate. That's why we have multiple security controls in place. But this is the high level, the 4 steps. As a hacker, they follow. As a security practitioner, we should know as a hacker what they are doing. So next, elements of typical security program. So now the topic is talking about security program. Security program primarily covers risk management, security governance and management, security controls, and professional ethics. So we'll cover first 3, the risk management, security governance and management, security controls. So risk management, if you are running a business, if you have faced some problem in past, you know the history of incidents. For example, in past, if you take Chennai, every year, maybe particular month or a quarter, there would be a flood happens. If you are running a business in Chennai, maybe you may need to shut the business for 3-4 days during that flood situation. That's due to the geographical location or natural disaster prone area where flood is expected. When it comes to, let's say, maybe North America, where they every year they get different kind of disaster, then it is already projected and anticipated risk, right, for your business. Let's say if you are running a business, let's say it depends on the cold storage. That cold storage runs on the government power grid. Every year government shut down the power grid for 12 hours in that particular month for maintenance. You can project that particular month my cold storage cannot operate because 12 hours power shutdown. I need to arrange a backup generator or some other power source. So these are the risk. Even if you take a simple analogy, if you are parking your bicycle outside, if you are parking your car outside your home or a four-wheeler, you put some kind of a security mechanism based on the risk. If you are staying in an area very rural, very not crowded area, you may need more security. You may put a CCTV camera, you may put more locks in the wheels or other locking system, or CCTV in the car itself, GPS, multiple protection you add, right? Because you realized there was a risk exists, because it's a outside or outskirt area where no people could see if someone is taking your vehicle. If you are living in a city where you have each and every corner you have CCTV footage, you casually park the car and go, right? So our human mind easily judge the risk in real time. But when it comes to business, there would be some process we need to follow, like how we are assessing the risk, how we are controlling the risk. There were some standards and procedures already defined by different controls or a respective framework that needs to be followed. Now come to risk management, type of risk that most likely to face. So if you are running it's business specific. If you are running a business with, let's say, dairy products, every year the farmers strike for XYZ reason, that time you may get milk shortage, so your production will impact. That's one example. Type of risk: no source for procuring the ingredients for that dairy factory, you have outage. The power example is, every month the government is doing maintenance, 12 hours power shutdown, my cold storage cannot work. Or cyber security related incident, every quarter, 3 months once, we are getting one ransomware attack that impacts 4 hours of the system to restore the backup. That 4 hours is the anticipated risk you are already aware of. So that's what called most likely to face. That's going to happen. Next, predict the list of risk. The risk could be man-made or natural disaster based risk, or misconfiguration or accidental risk. Based on the history, you can predict, let's say, next 6 months, these are the risks my business going to face. Am I equipped to mitigate, or in this stage you are. Next, identify the asset to enable protection. Asset identification is based on what was the risk, how was the risk is going to impact respective business or respective department. So identifying the asset, for example, you hired 10 interns. Out of 10 interns, 3 interns absconded and they took your company laptop. This is happening every time when new batch of interns joined the company and while leaving. So every time you are having 3 laptops missed, that 3 laptop cost is the loss, right? So here asset is laptop. This is just an example, but you could see multiple ways. It could be data center theft, or data stolen, or anything specific, but there would be an asset linked to it. It could be even machinery theft, in a factory, there were no adequate protection. Due to that, there would be some theft happening consistently for every year. That could also link it to an asset. Next, find the risk tolerance. If you are a big company, just missing 3 laptops is not a big risk, right? Let's say your company is doing $1 billion business. only 3 laptops gone, that's very minute risk, because that won't impact much. But if you are a startup, you have only 5 employees, 3 employees not returning the laptop, it's a big risk, because you are a startup stage, you don't have money to buy new laptops. Depends on the risk appetite, where the risk tolerance come into picture, when how much risk you can accept. Next, compromise. Security incidents that results in the unauthorized access of an information resources. That's what compromise. This is just a terminology you just need to aware of. I just put the same statement as from the textbook. If it is a vulnerability, weakened, that could potentially exploited. So vulnerability, the weakness that could be potentially exploited. Threat, damaging event associated with exploitation of a vulnerability. If there was an exploitation of a vulnerability that damaging that particular area, for example, your website got hacked because of that vulnerability, then that is the threat. Because of that vulnerability, hackers exploited, your website is gone, it is vulnerable. I mean, threat actors who is doing that event. It could be nation state initiative by other countries, like criminal groups or hackers or competitors, insiders, even terrorist groups. So the terrorist also attacks a respective country. For example, if terrorist from for our country, we have group from Pakistan or Bangladesh, they attack Indians critical infrastructure, where threat actors, they are threat actors, they attack our infrastructure to disrupt India's business. So risk management, the same topic, we need to understand what is risk and exposure, countermeasure. These three terminology, exam standpoint. If there is a statement for countermeasure is protection control technically. So anything that is put in place to mitigate a risk. There was a risk, let's say 3 people out of 10 interns, 3 interns not returning the laptop. There was the risk. How you can mitigate? If you abscond, you won't get experience certificate. If you abscond, you cannot join another company. We may file you a police complaint. You may need to write a agreement and sign an agreement that if you didn't return company's asset, we may file a legal action against you. That control, if that is in place, they will not abscond, right? Because as a professional, they would like to go with the legal way. They won't violate the policies. If they know what will happen, the consequences, they definitely return the laptop. They won't abscond. But if there was no policy exist, if there was no contract made, if there was no sign happened, then this can happen, right? So countermeasures based on the risk we need to make. Exposure is the potential that a security breach could occur. You know the risk. Because of that risk, that exposure can happen. Now, risk is likelihood that vulnerability could be exploited. So if there was a risk, that can be exploited using that vulnerability. So exam standpoint, just keep in mind these definitions: what is risk, what is exposure, what is countermeasure. Now, calculating the risk. So calculation comes with, once you identify the risk, we need to do risk assessment. Risk assessment can be happen in 2 ways. One is called qualitative assessment. One is quantitative. Quantitative means numerical. You can assign numbers to it. Qualitative means you cannot assign number to it. I will give you a simple example. I have a laptop. That laptop has all my customer information with the deal they have made in last 6 months and the next 3 months deal data located on that laptop. Now that laptop cost is 1,20,000. How you can identify or how you do the risk assessment? The laptop cost is 1,20,000, but the data stored on the laptop, last 6 months customer data as well as next 3 months future customer sales data present on that system, I don't have any backup. If that laptop is gone, my entire business may need to shut down. So in this case, the risk assessment, I cannot go with quantitative number based risk assessment. If I go number based, my risk is just 1,20,000 the laptop price. But if I go with the data has potential in my business, maybe that may go to 1 crore or 2 crore, depends on the business value, right? So here is where always we can't go with quantitative risk assessment. So quantitative risk assessment is suitable when there is a finite number. For example, one of my employee lost a laptop during travel. Okay, that laptop doesn't have much business data. We never ever store anything on the data. Everything is on Google Drive or respective backup taken every day. Now, there was no financial loss, only the loss is laptop. Now, if you put the formula, asset value, that laptop is 1,20,000. Exposure factor, that exposure factor is that laptop completely gone. No one will steal the laptop, only hard disk or monitor or mouse pad, right? If they steal the laptop, entire laptop is gone. The exposure factor here is 100%. 1,20,000 into 100% is the single loss expectancy. So the formula is AV into EF equal to SLE. SLE means single loss expectancy, because this incident happened once. One employee lost the laptop, 1,20,000 gone, 100% gone. Now come to annual loss of expectancy. Every year in my company, average 4 employees losing the laptop. Now 4 times 1,20,000, 100% gone. So 4 cross 1,20,000. So annual rate of occurrence into single loss expectancy. Single loss expectancy is 1 laptop 1,20,000. 4 persons lost the laptop annually, 12 months. So 4 multiplied by 1,20,000. Now that is the annual loss expectancy. This is just a simple analogy, just to give you an idea how we can calculate quantitative risk analysis using numbers. So qualitative risk analysis is based on the value of the data. That asset is heavily loaded with the sensitive data or critical business information. You cannot put a number. If that laptop is carrying all company sales information for next 3 months, your future business depends on that laptop, right? So you can put backup control, you can put a more antivirus or more lock system or GPS, or that laptop can be shared with another cloud-based solution, where every day, every minute, the backup can happen automatically. So if the laptop is lost, you can retrieve the data from the cloud. So those are the countermeasure. I mean, the protection for that specific highly targeted asset. But in a nutshell, quantitative and qualitative risk assessment you must aware of. The key terminology is asset value. That is the numeric value, the asset value of the asset. The asset could be laptop, mobile phone, or anything which is used in the company. Threat probability, how many times that threat can happen per year or per month. Vulnerability, what vulnerable, the weakness, what are the weakness that particular asset has. Impact of loss, if that device lost, what would be the impact? You can retrieve the backup, or you may lose company data. What would be the correct impact? Cost of controls, to enable backup or to enable cloud mirroring, what is the cost for that particular countermeasure or security controls? That's what cost of the control. Because cost of the control at times it shouldn't increase more than the asset value. Let's say I have 1,20,000 rupees worth of laptop. If you ask me to buy an antivirus which is 2 lakhs, it doesn't make any sense, right? I'm just protecting 1,20,000 value with the 2 lakh antivirus. That doesn't make sense. So the countermeasure or protection always less than the asset value. So next, risk treatment. Now let's say you have identified the risk. Now you have did the qualitative quantitative risk assessment. Now how to mitigate? You know, every year 4 employees losing the laptop. That was the example, right? Now, if you take insurance for your laptop, the insurance company will pay you the 4 laptop money and you are getting back, right? So buy insurance for those lost assets. Nowadays, you can buy insurance for many things. In even your personal mobile phone, you can buy insurance. Even mobile damage or the asset protection. When you buy a mobile, the screen protection, you can pay some premium and they would provide you free of cost service and replacement warranty, right? Similarly, laptop also comes with the insurance. If you take the insurance, whenever there is a theft or loss happens, the respective insurance company, you need to provide relevant data like a complaint or information, then they will give you back the laptop. That way you can transfer that risk to someone else, because you are not mitigating, you are just transferring. I can't handle this problem anymore. I just buy the insurance with a minimum premium of maybe, let's say, per laptop 4,000, but I'm getting back almost 1,20,000 multiplied by 4, right? So that much of money I'm getting back. Next, accept the risk. I can't buy insurance. Insurance also so heavy cost. But if 4 laptops going to be lost, that's fine. We can buy it. We have enough money to run the business. That is not a big problem. I can accept the risk, live with the risk. Just a 4 employee out of 30,000 employees is not a big risk for the company. So they accept the risk. They buy new laptop as soon as employee reported a theft incident, and they give a new laptop, or they have a policy to collect the money from the employees. So that way they accept the risk and they're not mitigating, but they are living with the risk. Avoid, stop an activity that is too risky. If that laptop theft is not at all going to happen, if they put a mechanism in place to stop that theft, then we are avoiding, right, that activity. For example, whenever user go to a travel, they are missing, you can put a policy during travel, don't take office laptops kept in office premises whenever you are going on weekend. So if that is the policy, you are avoiding the risk or incident going to happen. Next, mitigate, putting a control to mitigate that theft happens. So educating the users or giving more controls, like if anyone take the laptop that has GPS tracker, or complaining, identifying the location, taking legal action and getting that data back, maybe that would be one mitigation control. Then enabling disk encryption on the laptop, where if someone took the laptop, they can't even open the data because disk encryption not allowing them to open. So even though they take the laptop, they can't get any data, so no business loss. So that way you can mitigate. So primarily what you need to know here, if there was a risk, are we transferring, are we accepting, are we avoiding, are we mitigating? So these 4 area you must aware of. These 4 terminology you should aware of in exam standpoint. The reason I am pressing this 4 statement, there may be a question stating that the scenario like your company is buying an insurance, which is fall under which part of risk treatment. Maybe buying insurance is you are transferring the risk. Let's say your company is buying antivirus software for all the employees. What your company is doing, antivirus is a countermeasure which is mitigating the malware attack, right? So mitigate is the right answer, putting control to mitigate. So that's where you need to relate these risk treatment concepts. Then security governance and management. Here the governance, without governance, companies may not able to implement any policies and controls. There would be a governing party. Governance is the process of defining, oversee the entire organization to meet organizational goals and objectives. Let's say you have a company, you value your customers first, employee next. That is your goal. Now, as a company, you have started some policies and governing policy, how you are treating your customer first with maybe good customer satisfaction or customer feedback, or giving them very perfect, excellent service so that customer would be happy. Then next, you are taking care of your employees. Some companies put employee first, customer next. They give luxurious salary or perks and benefits to employees, and they put customer backseat, like customers, we won't treat you, high preference because our employees are first preference. That's the goal, right? If that goal converted into governing policy, we may need to initiate some of the activities through policies, right? So that is what governance come into picture. In governance, there are some elements, laws and regulations which you cannot avoid, because if you are doing a business in India, you may need to follow DPDP Act 2023. If you want to do business in Europe, you need to follow GDPR. If you want to do business in America, FISMA or PCI DSS are respective American laws you need to follow. Laws and regulations fall under governance only, that is mandatory. External standards, simple analogy, if you buy any food product, if you have seen Agmark label, what you are thinking? Agmark is a standard in India that gives genuine product. That product might be tested in labs and that standard met. The environment, the manufacturing environment was tested, and the product was undergone lab test, the batch test. That's why they given the Agmark symbol, right? That Agmark standard boost your sales and brand reputation. Same goes to companies. If you see companies with ISO standard, companies with NIST standard, compliance with the NIST framework, what you are telling the customer, you are building the trust. So the trust comes from compliance. When your product and enterprise is compliant with the respective standards, your product will win in the market. Let's say you are purchasing a service. Let's say you are purchasing email service from X vendor. That X vendor comply with NIST framework, then NIST framework mandated 16 character password, 2 MFA, your messages are encrypted. These are the standards as part of NIST framework. Then you can trust blindly and buy, right? That's what the standard gives to the company as well. So that also fall under security governance. Then organizational related ethics, goals and objectives. There are companies will allow you to wear your local suits or local clothes based on your culture, right? There is no restriction. They won't force you to wear always pant or suit. You can feel free to wear your cultural dresses, or you can go with your ethnic dresses. That's local organization policy. Maybe the local holidays are holidays for the employees as well, right? Not national holidays or international holidays fall out. The local holidays, these all fall under organizational policies and local objectives. So that also fall under security governance. So security governance to be formed to implement those policies in place. Now come to regulations and laws. The Sarbanes-Oxley Act is applicable for US-based publicly traded companies. That act indicates if you are a publicly traded company in US, they need to submit your balance sheet every quarter to Security Exchange, which is equivalent to our India SEBI. So what exactly happening here? Your balance sheet shouldn't be modified or influenced with any unknown numbers. You need to accurately report. If you violate, they may put a fine. So that's what this law states, but that is applicable for mostly all US based traded companies like Tesla or any company listed in US stock market. This Sarbanes-Oxley Act is applicable. The reason I am putting this statement, if there is a question related to stock market, your company is doing some broker work, what act you need to comply with? You need to comply with Sarbanes-Oxley Act if your company is publicly traded. Next, HIPAA 1996 Act. If your company is healthcare related, you are dealing with US customers, then HIPAA 1996 Act is mandatory. Next, Federal Information Security Management Act. Let's say you are building defense equipment for US military. You are exporting from India. Now you are a federal contractor. You are supplying equipments to US government military, which is US federal under. So you need to follow this FISMA Act, Federal Information Security Management Act 2002. So whenever there is a US federal related concept, you need to remember FISMA. FISMA is linked to US federal, like how our government military, the police forces or whatever government agencies, the gov.in, we have our government agencies, right, like CBI. Similarly, in US, various agencies, they get contractor and supplier from other countries. Maybe India is supplying defense equipment or other countries supplying medical equipments to them. Then they treated as they need to obey with this FISMA Act. GDPR, whenever company is doing any business with Europe, then GDPR is mandatory. If you are processing Europe citizens' data, GDPR law must be followed. So if you don't know what is this law, you can Google it and learn high level. But this exam standpoint, you only know the context, what I said. You don't need to know more detail, what is covered in GDPR or HIPAA, not required. High level, what is HIPAA, where it is applicable. GDPR, what is GDPR, where it is applicable. That's it. Next standards, as I explained, AGMARC, right? AGMARC is for food. Similarly, for cyber security, various standards exist in the world, like International Standard Organization for Technology, ISO, NIST framework, National Institute of Standard and Technology they developed information security standard and cyber security standards. PCI SSC for payment card industry standard for banking and other financial sectors. IEEE is for port and protocols related network concepts. If you are developing some new protocol, proprietary protocol, then you may need to register with IEEE. Then you can get that validated by them and registered under IEEE. One example is WhatsApp end-to-end encryption. That might be registered under IEEE. They may have the patent, the local patent to implement that particular concept in their product. Then internet task force, they're taking care of internet level standards. Like if your company is ISP like Airtel, Vodafone or Jio, then you may need to follow IETF standard to give proper security services. Cloud Security Alliance, which is called CSA, they provide standard for cloud security. If you are doing AWS or Google Cloud or Amazon or Azure, then you need to follow Cloud Security Alliance standard. If you put your product is CSA compliant with, then you are following whatever best practices they mentioned in CSA standard. OWASP is for web applications. There were OWASP top 10 threats always they release every year, like SQL injection, XFF cross-site scripting attacks, or any other web-related attacks, or they release every year. Just to go and read what is OWASP top 10 web threats for 2025. You will get list. That is one good place where you can start your the bug bounty program. If you know OWASP top 10 concepts, you can easily scan any web application and you can identify if there is any potential vulnerability. Then you can participate in bug bounty program. This will open career opportunity again. So OWASP top 10 vulnerabilities and OWASP top 10 mitigation controls you can learn. But exam standpoints, ISO, NIST, PCI, IEEE, IETF, CSA, OWASP, each applicable for different respective stack. Okay, ISO applicable for maybe network security, information security. NIST is again information security. PCI DSS is for banking and fintech related companies. IEEE is for protocols primarily. If you develop new protocol, then it should follow IEEE standards. IETF is for ISP, CSA is for cloud security, OWASP is for web threats. Primarily web, Android, that mobile related threats fall under OWASP top 10 threats. So just know what is the standard, where it is applicable. You don't need much more depth detail for this exam standpoint. Maybe CISSP or any other exam you may need to read more, but this exam standpoint, just definition and where it is applicable is enough. So next, security controls. So before we wrap, I quickly cover security controls. Under security controls, one logic you need to understand: defense in depth. What is defense in depth? I have antivirus, I have malware protection, I have web application firewall, but why still I should use multi-factor authentication, right? If one control is compromised, your other control at least can protect. It is like you have a house, there is an external door or an entrance gate. You are locking that gate every night, right? Then you have an in-house, there is a door again. you are locking that too. So you are technically putting two controls. If one is breached, the another one will protect. That's how exactly in the network, if one control is compromised, the another control at least protect you from that attack happening, or some level of control that will help you to mitigate. So that way defense in depth come into picture. It is fall under administrative security like policy, standards and training. Then physical security, like how we are physically providing security, like the entrance help desk with the security guards, the badge reader on the door, only the door get opened if you show the badge in the badge reader. The network security, you have firewalls and IDP IDS controls. Data security, you have data loss prevention controls such as endpoint DLP or web DLP, email DLP or network DLP. So those all are the data security controls. So why we need to combine all these controls together for defense in depth? If anyone compromised, for example, there is a attacker somehow entered into your company. Now that there was a laptop. Now that attacker can come close to the laptop, but he cannot log in because that laptop has login with MFA. Only the right user with the MFA can log in, right? So one control he breached, but other control is still protecting that asset. That's how defense in depth really works. The policy, standards and training under administrative control. User training is more focused because human is the weakest link in the cybersecurity. If humans can be mimicked, or social engineering can trick the human to do the task, then you can't protect any other control. Let's say you compromised a network security administrator, you asked him to do some task as an attacker. Now you have full control, right? Because he is the network security administrator, he is following your command. Then no point of protecting firewall or anything, because network security administrator may have more privilege. He can disable all other controls that will create big chaos or business loss for that specific business. So training is one of the important control under administrative security. So next, types of security controls. So the types fall under three types: administrative, technical or logical, physical. These three controls. You just imagine administrative control, training, documentation and policy. In policy, one highlight I like to talk, HR policy. HR policy is one very important policy, because when a new employee joined the company, HR trigger that onboarding. When same time, when employee resigned the company and leaving the company that same day or same time, HR initiating a request to revoke all the access, include door access or include application access, laptop access, all get revoked immediately. So HR policy must be clearly defined. When I need to provision, when I need to revoke the application access. That fall under administrative security control. Technical control or logical control, whatever computer system, firewall, proxy or IDP, IDS components, we are touching the technical or logical controls, because you have specific technical control in place that fall under access control, network security, data protection like disk encryption or data at rest protection, data at transit protection, all fall under technical control. Physical control, physical security control, protecting the company's premises like using fence, protecting companies from vehicle attack. If someone is coming with a big vehicle and hitting the office building, so they put the steel rods and bollards to block that vehicle, or they put environment by design, security by design environment, like the roadside there were no entrance, they put heavy thick wall the roadside, only the entrance is other side, so they put security in control, or they put movable bollard or controls where any vehicles cannot enter into that entrance area. So that's how physical security starts. Then lighting also one of the security control. When there is no adequate light, your CCTV camera cannot capture what is happening in that area, right? So light also fall under security, I mean the physical security control. If there is a question talking about light, then remember that is linked to physical security. Then door locks, badge reader, stop signs, cameras, biometric. Biometric also your physical security control, because that is allowing you to the office premises, logging your entry. That is one of the non-repudiation control as well. So physical security controls talking about how office structured, fencing, lighting, bullets, door locks, badge reader, and stop signs. This is for CC exam perspective, these three control. Similarly, NIST framework also having three security controls. They only talk about management security control, operational security control, technical security control. You cannot put one-on-one mapping, but just for your awareness, NIST framework is talking different security controls. These three are management, operational, technical. But exam standpoint, you know administrative, technical or logical, and physical controls. All right, so with that I conclude today's session. We'll continue on next Saturday. But I like you to remember we are on stage 1 here. Once you complete the ISC squared module, then you can schedule the exam, then prepare for multiple choice question, then give it a shot. So with that, I open for questions. If you have any questions, please feel free to post it on the chat. We'll take quickly. All right, already many questions. CC, we have MITRE attack framework questions. No, MITRE attack framework, you can, good to know, but you may not expect question from MITRE attack, because that is advanced concept applicable for CASSP. But I never ever seen any sample questions related to MITRE attack in CC. How zero-day attack can be calculated through risk assessment? Very good question. Zero-day attack is something, maybe I can put a more light on what is zero-day, as more people are students here. There were no clear history of that threat. For example, new virus, today only created. Let's say now the time is 8:49. 8:50 I will create a virus. Now I am sending that virus to all of you through the chat and asking you to download. You all download the virus. You have antivirus, but antivirus doesn't have any info about that virus. That is called zero-day, because that malware or information never ever exists in any of the threat intelligence. That is newly developed. So zero-day attacks risk assessment cannot be clearly calculated, because there is no clear indication. Your security controls may protect or may not, but the defense in depth control at least may help. For example, your user trying to download a new malware, new file. Whenever they download a new file, you have a proxy that will download that malware and keep it in sandbox environment, detonate it, and give the access only if it is a good file. That is one way to mitigate the control. You have mitigation in place to tackle the zero-day. When it comes to application zero-day, let's say Chrome based zero-day, Chrome browser release patches for every 2 weeks for zero-day and other benefits. But let's say you are using Chrome version 128. In 128 version, there was a zero-day vulnerability identified. Chrome is urging everyone to upgrade, or they haven't released the patch. We all living with the risk. Now, here we may not able to complete the risk assessment, because that exploitable vulnerability is not easily exploitable, that related to that CVE score. So the risk assessment goes to how easily that weakness is exploitable. So the qualitative analysis, we can clearly secure the risky targets, but we cannot put a quantitative assessment. At times, you may not do perfect qualitative or quantitative risk assessment, but in terms of mitigation, you can put defense in depth controls so that the zero-day vulnerabilities can be mitigated. Then next question, in an OT operational technology industry where safety is prioritized over data, which risk assessment technique is most appropriate and why? In OT, safety is prioritized over data, obviously, because OT environment, human safety is first preference, because whenever there is a question about human safety is in the top order. So imagine you may get a tricky question like this. If you are run into a cybersecurity threat, 3 people, held in your office building, your doors are locked, what would be the first action you do? You can't apply incident response plan or whatever else. You need to save that 3 humans stuck in the office, right? So human life goes to the top priority. Same way here in OT environment, maybe the operational technology environment could be factory, automated factory, where safety is high prioritized. Data is, if they exfiltrate the data, there would be a risk, but if that risk is acceptable or depends on the risk tolerance level, maybe they put less controls. But if they follow zero trust principle or architecture, there would be a clear control and data classification that would help. Is there any similar certification program for DPDP Act? Yes, obviously. DPDP Act, there would be some certification. As long as you are fine with the law, regulation, you are that type of candidate where you are interested in reading the laws, then you can look for certification. Various companies offering certification program like 1 week program, 15 days program. You can just Google it and identify DPDP certification in Bangalore or Chennai. You can easily find. Who is responsible for establishing, preparing, and managing cybersecurity governance management in an organization? That is the relation with the policies, procedures, BL with security governance management. Looks like exam question, maybe mostly the governance from management. Any questions comes related to IEC 62243 standard, which is using most of the manufacturing pharma critical industry. I don't think this type of complex questions seen in the ISC2 syllabus. Whatever the theory, what I'm covering from the textbook. So I use ISC2 CC textbook as well as all-in-one textbook. So these 2 textbook I refer. As I have taken the exam, based on the syllabus, these additional topics are not included because they are clearly following that whatever syllabus. Maybe if there would be some dummy question came, but there won't be any appropriate mark for that. So difference between castle and moat security model versus difference in depth or zero trust model. This won't be exam question, but in general knowledge, castle and moat security model, for example, in legacy, you have a VPN network. Hub and spoke or castle and moat security model where you trust your network. Like let's say your laptop having a VPN agent get connected, you are established the tunnel from the laptop, you are trusting that session until that VPN get disconnected, right? But in zero trust model or defense in depth, never trust, always verify. That principle is applicable. So every time you establish the channel, you must be authenticate. So that's where zero trust model is so secure and robust control. But zero trust model takes time to implement. But the castle and moat security model was the legacy security architecture. That's how many of the existing companies are operating. But nowadays zero trust model is popular since 2010 as US passed executive order to implement zero trust architecture in most of the US businesses. So do you have CSSP prep cat like we have in PMP? So preparation. So what I am doing now, I'm trying to build a quiz engine with 100 questions on each domain. We have 5 domains, each domain with 500 questions. So total 500 questions with multiple choice answers. I will build that question engine. Still the works are pending. Currently each domain 20 questions updated, but still works are pending. I can share the link. You can practice those questions like similar to prepcast for CC, but there are other resources available online like PrebNayer's Coffee Shot for CC and few other playlists from YouTube. If you are seriously taking each domain one by one, you can search that specific domain on YouTube and Google. You will find a lot of resources. As the CC exam exists, last I think more than 4 years, so you might have a lot of resources. But intention for my training is I am motivating you guys to keep on track week on week touching base, so that you guys get that confident to write the exam. But rely on multiple resources to make sure you're having full confidence on that specific topic. As with this limited 2 hours time, I can cover 70-80%, but remaining 20% you can go bit deeper in those specific resources and syllabuses. How do organization prioritize which vulnerabilities to patch first when there are thousands of them detected? Yeah, very good question. Here is where risk assessment comes into picture. Whenever there is a vulnerability, known vulnerability, there is a CVE, common vulnerability exposure number, get assigned. That CVE might have risk indicator score. CVE 10 is high, CVE 9, 8 is less, CVE 1, 2, 3 maybe less impactable. Based on that criteria, company should prioritize. Let's say CVE 10 vulnerability, you need to patch within next 3 hours. Otherwise, many people will exploit and impact your servers. That's how CVE works. As soon as CVE is published, the respective vendor will publish the solution as well. Let's say Microsoft immediately publish if there is a severe vulnerability is identified. So priority linked to CVE risk score. So you can find and search what is CVE risk score. You will get that details. So when you patch, that patch does have any CVE patch or CVE mitigation. What is that CVE score? You need to immediately patch, or you can take 3-4 weeks to do that, or you can do N-1 or do some pilot batch in testing environment, then go to production. That depends on the CVE score. So here CVE score is my answer. How can organization detect encrypted command and control traffic without decrypting everything? So command and control, as long as if it is a known malicious destination without decryption, you can identify there is a traffic going to command and control that needs to be blocked. But if it is unknown, the IP is new, no historical evidence, but still it is a command and control, no way to identify until unless you decrypt. So decrypt, you may need to use proxy solutions or secure web gateways that would perform TLS inspection from browser traffic. But still there are areas you cannot inspect. For example, command line or any other tool which is not following the man in the middle decryption, then still it's a gray area. So cybersecurity never be 100% perfect. There would be a gap or risk. That is where the risk tolerance acceptance come into picture. You may need to accept the risk if there is a new command and control that is not decryptable. What other mitigation control you have? You may lock the destination. For example, other than browser, your other applications cannot initiate any outbound connection. You can put a rule in firewalls, advanced next gen firewalls, you can enforce a rule. So that way you are restricting new command and control or inline new IP addresses. So other than that, yeah, anomaly based detection, other than that, so other than that, pattern analysis, for example, new command and control that is matching the pattern with the SNOT rule or advanced threat protection controls, comes with various security solutions. So far I have seen which is called advanced threat protection. Customized SNOT rule can be added if repeated threats seen in that same pattern. So that way we can block. So next, yeah, someone is thanking me. Yeah, thanks for your time as well on weekend attending this session. Nowadays, lot of devices identify traffic based on telemetry. If traffic is not decrypted, then also based on traffic signature. Actually, hardening will help. We don't need to go too much on unknown traffic. If there is a command line, always talking to my AWS or my respective resource, I only whitelist that connection. When you have unlimited, ports are opened or unlimited destinations are opened, that's where this come into impact. As long as you have strict hardening policy, this won't become a problem, because you can write a clear rule on firewall, only allow from command line to respective IP ranges or services which is trusted or companies purchased. If you see any unknown IP address or unknown command and control traffic, block it simply in the firewall rule. You no need decryption. If there is a browser traffic, then you can apply decryption on the secure web gateways where decrypted pattern seen next respective signatures are applied and get blocked. Kindly Lepre here, this session has been recorded. Please share this session link so that we will review very meaningful this session. Please share this session. Definitely all my sessions are loaded in that LearnCyberSec YouTube channel. I will send it over WhatsApp group. Okay, last week I put that in the message. Probably if you have joined after next week, sorry, the previous week, then you might have lost the link. I will put it again. So today's session is also recorded and will put it in channel tomorrow. Probably I need to some of the editing, then I will upload it to the channel because I'm trying to keep this is accessible for everyone, because anyone interested to do certification in CC, they should find a packaged resource in one playlist. They go and watch one by one video, maybe their own time, then go to exam and crack the exam. So we need to create more cybersecurity individuals. More people should come towards cybersecurity domain because we need more people to safeguard the business, and simple action may increase our India's GDP. For example, more companies losing money or getting attacked. If more cybersecurity professionals are available in the market, you can protect the business. So that way the chain effect will do different area. So other than that, I'm also planning to do other related topics, include different focused on different technology. Probably soon I will announce, but CC is my first target. As the certification is free, my training is free. What you need is your effort and time and dedication. So always I believe dedication always wins. You just show up on this session, keep reading every day 1 hour for a related topic, prepare yourself, go for the exam, definitely you will pass. So with that note, I conclude. Have a good weekend. So Sunday you can take some time and prepare. All the best for the people who are already started your learning journey. So I'm just contributing as a messenger here in your learning process. I'm so much happy that I'm contributing my experience and skill in a meaningful way. So with that, thank you everyone. Have a good night.